Ethan Miller was a humble man, a mechanic by trade. He ran a small auto repair shop on the edge of a quiet town in rural Oregon. The garage was falling apart, business was slow, and money was always tight. But Ethan never complained. He'd lived a hard life. Orphaned young and raised in foster homes, he understood what it meant to feel unwanted. Maybe that's why he always stepped up, when others wouldn't. One stormy evening, thunder rolled across the sky, and rain poured down harder than it had in months. Ethan was locking up his shop when an explosion rocked the ground. A fiery glow lit the horizon beyond the trees. Without hesitation, he grabbed his flashlight, jumped into his old pickup truck, and drove toward the light. What he found was chaos. The burning wreckage of a private jet, flames tearing through its remains. A small crowd of locals had gathered, but no one dared to get too close. The blaze was massive, and the risk of another explosion loomed. Ethan didn't hesitate. He rushed past the onlookers, boots sinking into the soaked ground. Smoke filled his lungs, but he pushed forward, shouting, "Is anyone in there? Can you hear me?" No answer. Just the crackle of fire and the groaning of twisted metal. Then, a sound. Faint, but unmistakable. A baby's cry. His heart skipped. He followed the sound, maneuvering through the wreckage with trembling hands. Near the rear of the plane, inside what was left of the cabin, he saw her. A tiny baby girl, wrapped in a soft pink blanket, lying near a broken seat, crying, but alive. "Oh my God," Ethan whispered, throat tightening. He reached in, scooped her up gently, cradling her against his chest to shield her from the heat. As he turned to escape, part of the plane collapsed behind him. Sparks flew. The air thickened with heat and dread. He ran. Just as he made it out, a second explosion roared behind him, flames erupting into the sky. People screamed and backed away, but Ethan dropped to his knees in the mud, shielding the baby with his body. She was alive, shaken, crying, but alive. She was rushed to the local hospital. Miraculously, she had only minor injuries. The next morning, the news broke. A private jet belonging to tech billionaire Meline Carter had crashed en route to Seattle. She had been traveling with her infant daughter. Both were presumed dead. Ethan had never heard of Meline Carter. He didn't follow tech news, didn't even own a smartphone. To him, the baby wasn't a millionaire's child. She was a miracle. With her identity unconfirmed and no next of kin coming forward, Ethan was granted temporary custody while the investigation continued. He named her Hope, because that's what she gave him. Ethan sold his old toolbox to buy formula, diapers, a crib. Friends and neighbors pitched in, offering clothes, food, and babysitting. The once empty house was now filled with baby laughter and the sweet scent of powder and milk. He built her a makeshift nursery from salvaged wood, painted the walls, himself, even though he'd never held a brush before. Every night he rocked her to sleep, humming old country songs his mother used to sing. "Why'd you do it?" people asked. "She needed someone," he'd say, "and so did I." What Ethan didn't know was that Meline Carter had survived, found alive in a remote mountain hospital. Unconscious, badly injured, unidentified. The world still believed she was dead. But her story wasn't over, and neither was Ethan's. For now, all that mattered to him was Hope, the baby he pulled from the flames, the little girl who gave a lonely mechanic a reason to believe in miracles again. 6 months had passed since the crash, and in that time, Ethan Miller's life had changed completely. The once quiet mechanic with oil-stained hands and a broken-down garage was now a father, not by blood, but by something deeper: love. He raised Hope as his own, learned to change diapers, mix formula, and even decipher the mysterious language of baby cries. She brought life into his lonely world. And though the mystery of her past lingered, Ethan didn't care. All that mattered was the present. Feeding her, rocking her to sleep, watching her giggle when he made goofy faces during diaper changes. But far away, in a hospital across the country, another miracle had quietly unfolded. Meline Carter, tech billionaire, philanthropist, and single mother, had survived the crash. Her body was broken, her mind clouded in fog. She'd been found by a hiking group days after the crash and airlifted to a remote trauma center. With no ID and her face badly injured, she was labeled a Jane Doe. Recovery was slow, her memory shattered. But one image remained: her daughter's face. She couldn't remember her own name, but she remembered the baby she cradled in her arms during the crash. "I have a daughter," she whispered to nurses. "She's alive. I know she is." At first, no one believed her. The world had long declared both mother and child dead. But Meline's persistence, along with the slow return of memories, helped the doctors piece it together. 6.5 months after the crash, she was finally identified. Meline Carter was alive. The moment her identity was confirmed, federal authorities launched a massive search for the missing infant. And that search led them to a quiet town in Oregon, to a humble mechanic who had no idea the child he'd been raising was the daughter of one of the most powerful women in America. When Meline arrived, she didn't come in a limousine. No camera crews. Just a plain black SUV, a scarf covering her healing scars, holding her breath with every passing mile. She'd seen the photo, Ethan holding Hope at the county fair, both smiling as if the world couldn't touch them. And, now standing outside his garage, she hesitated. What if Hope didn't remember her? What if the man inside had already taken her place in her daughter's heart? But when Ethan stepped out and saw her, when their eyes met, everything stopped. "You're Meline," he said softly. She nodded, her voice trembling. "You saved my daughter." No cameras, no speeches, no drama. Just a mother falling to her knees before the man who gave her child a second chance. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "There's no amount of money." "I didn't do it for money," Ethan said, gently cradling the baby in his arms. "I did it because she needed someone." Sensing something, Hope reached toward Meline, tiny fingers stretching, eyes wide. Meline took her into her arms, tears spilling, tears of joy and heartbreak. They talked for hours that day, about the crash, about the months since. What Hope liked, how she hated peas but loved applesauce, how she fell asleep to country music, how she just started saying, "Da-da." Meline smiled through tears. "She called you Dad." Ethan chuckled nervously. "Yeah, she doesn't know any better." Meline looked at him, voice soft. "Maybe she does." She didn't take Hope away right away. Instead, she stayed, in town, getting to know the man who had saved her daughter. Eventually, the media found out. Ethan's story went viral. Mechanic raises billionaire's baby after crash. But Ethan stayed the same. Quiet, kind. When Meline returned to New York, she made a decision that surprised everyone. She offered Ethan a place in their lives, not out of obligation, but love. She brought him to New York, funded his dream garage, helped him finish his degree, and most of all, kept the bond between him and Hope alive. They didn't just co-parent. They became a family, built on chance, love, and sacrifice. And while the world saw a headline-worthy miracle, Ethan never let it go to his head. "I didn't save her to become famous," he said in one interview. "I saved her because I know what it's like to be alone. And I couldn't let her grow up in a world like that." He didn't.